I wrote an article called Israel's Kristallnacht, and I had just finished a book about my grandparents, and my grandfather, who was a Nazi resistor, was murdered by the Nazis. He was executed in Berlin in 1942, and I deeply researched what was going on in Germany and so on. And what I realized is that a lot of what the Israeli government is doing is very parallel to what happened to Jews. And Kristallnacht, for those who may not know, was a pogrom, a mass violent attack on Jews all over Germany, and it was provoked by a killing by a young Jew in Paris when he heard about what was happening with his family. Had been deported suddenly to Poland. They were Polish Jewish immigrants, and he was so distraught he got a pistol. He shot a person who really didn't deserve to be shot, but anyway, he did it out of just rage. And the Nazis used that as an excuse to mobilize against Jews all over the country. They called Jews mass murderers themselves and said they had it coming. And my grandfather ended up, right after Kristallnacht, going to being sent to Dachau. And so I studied all of that. And so I tried to draw the parallels. A couple of the important parallels here is that, one, the incessant brutality and persecution of Palestinians led to an uprising, led to the October 7 murders, which were not justified, but the Jewish authority, the Israeli authorities had to know that there was going to be a reaction to their relentless persecution, including the incursions into the Al-Aqsa Mosque. They had to know that this was a provocation. Just as in Germany, the 400 laws that were passed against Jews, the German Nazi government had to know that it would provoke something. And how do we know that they knew that? Because they had just expanded Dachau. They knew something was going to be coming down the pike. And in Israel, the government has made no qualms about talking about ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. So they were waiting for something like this to happen, and they took the opportunity. There were even Israeli officials who said as much. We should take advantage of the moment to push forward, what we've been wanting to do for a long, long time, which was to wipe out the Palestinian population. So there's other parallels in the article, but the point here is that what is happening, what happened to Jews during the Holocaust, is there's a lot of parallels to what's happening now. And I want to make one clear point here. The real culpable party to all this is the United States of America and the British imperialists, the U.S. and British imperialists who turned their backs on Jews, and including my family, when they were desperately trying to get to the United States. The door was slammed in their face, and there's a great deal of documentation to prove this. After World War II, after the carnage of Jews, after the U.S. had turned its back on hundreds of thousands of Jews who potentially could have gotten out if they had just gone along with their own laws, their own visas and so on. After the war, they suddenly became the great defenders of the Jews. Why? Because they saw the desperation and the despair of the Jewish population could be used to set up a settler state, an imperialist outpost in a region that was becoming more and more volatile, and where anti-colonialist sentiments were threatening the control that the British and the U.S. needed with the oil and all the rest of those resources and so on. So the Jews were being used. Let's make no mistake about it. U.S. imperialism, British imperialism, they have blood on their hands, not only of the Palestinians, which is obvious with this horrible attack that's going on in the 75 years of oppression of Palestinians, but they also have the blood of the Jews on their hands. They divided Jews against Palestinians. They continue to do that. And to brothers and sisters on both sides, Palestinian Jews, I'll say this, to my Jewish brothers and sisters, wake up. and realize your enemy is imperialism, and we've got to get rid of it. It's destroying the planet. It's causing untold misery, and we've got to move beyond an imperialist world. The misery that this imperialist U.S. has caused is beyond description. It would take hours to even begin to talk about it.